You ever heard of Bumble? Yeah, that's where I met Laura. Seemed like a normal date at first. She was an artist, into all the cool stuff, museums, independent films, that kind of vibe. We talked for weeks, clicked right away. You know how it goes. Endless texts, late-night calls. Finally, she invites me over for dinner at her place. Her apartment was something else, all artsy and warm. Fairy lights everywhere, exposed brick walls that screamed creative soul. We had this amazing lasagna, talked for hours about everything and nothing, laughed until our sides hurt. She seemed perfect, you know, like someone you could actually see yourself with. The next morning, though, everything went sideways. I wake up to an email with the subject line, "Last night." My heart about thumped out of my chest. I open it, and there they are. Pictures, videos, of us, well, getting a little personal. But these weren't selfies. No way. These were taken from hidden cameras, cleverly disguised around her apartment. There was even one shot where you could see the tiny camera itself, blending right in on a bookshelf. I called Laura, freaking out of course, but she was just as shocked as I was. We realized someone had been spying on us. We met up later that day, both scared out of our minds. Then, guess what? Another email. This time, it was pictures of me, alone in my apartment, sleeping, showering, the whole works, like someone had been watching me for weeks. That's when the real panic set in. I ripped my place apart, looking for those damn cameras. Found 4 in total, all hidden like little digital eyes. We went to the police, of course, but let me tell you, they weren't exactly jumping at the chance to help. Just some jaded cops muttering about pranks and ex-girlfriends. Weeks went by, and nothing. The silence was deafening. I stopped using my laptop at night, kept my phone on me all the time. Even with Laura, things got weird. We wouldn't talk as much. And when we did, it felt strained, like she was holding something back. Or maybe it was me. Then, another email. This one had a single video file. I stared at it for what felt like forever before hitting play. It was just a dark room, a single light bulb swinging back and forth. A distorted voice started talking, going on about some dark web show and people paying to watch other people's lives. It was messed up. We called the police again, but by the time they traced the email, it was a dead end. Laura ended things shortly after, said she needed some space, some time to figure things out. I never saw her again. I moved, changed my number, the whole 9 yards, but the feeling of being watched, it never goes away. You ever look over your shoulder a little more these days? Yeah, me too. Some things just stick with you, you know? Like a bad dream you can't quite shake.
This story is sure to send shivers down your spine. It all began with a dating app, a place where you swipe right for potential romance and left for rejection. I matched with a guy named Jake, who had warm brown eyes, a charming smile, and shared all my interests: hiking, photography, you name it. We instantly clicked, and after a week of chatting, we decided to meet in person at a quaint cafe downtown. I was super excited about our date, so I got to the cafe early. I was all dressed up, my heart was pounding, and I couldn't stop checking my phone. But Jake never showed up. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally, I got a message from him. He said something came up at work, and asked if we could reschedule for the next night. I was disappointed, but hey, things happen, right? So I agreed. The next evening, I went back to the cafe, trying not to get my hopes up too much. But this time, Jake walked in right on time. He looked just like his photos and was even more charming in person. He apologized for the previous night and explained he got stuck in a last-minute meeting. We talked for hours over coffee and then took a walk in the park. He even walked me home and gave me a sweet kiss goodnight. It was perfect. I went to bed that night feeling like I was on cloud 9. So, the next morning, as I was sipping my coffee, I decided to do a little harmless internet stalking on Jake. I typed his name into the search bar, expecting to find his social media profiles. Instead, I found a news article from a year ago. The headline read, "Tragic accident claims life of local man." My heart sank. There was Jake's face, smiling warmly at the camera, just like he had the night before. The article detailed a car accident that happened exactly a year ago, the night he was supposed to meet a date at a cafe downtown. Yes, the same cafe we were at. I was freaked out. I sent Jake a message asking him to explain. The message stayed unread. I went to look for his profile on the app, but it was gone. Every trace of our conversations had disappeared. I contacted the app's customer support, but they had no record of his account. I started to think, was this some kind of sick joke? Was someone using his identity? But everything felt so real. Desperate for answers, I reached out to the journalist who wrote the article. Her name was Emily, and she agreed to meet with me. She confirmed that Jake had indeed died a year ago, on his way to a date. I told her my story, and she was as shocked as I was. She said that I was not the first person to tell her something like this. A few other women have reported meeting someone who looked like Jake, only for him to disappear without a trace. So Emily and I decided to dig deeper. We visited Jake's old apartment, spoke to his friends and family. They all described him as a great guy who had been excited about his date. But nothing seemed to explain what I had experienced. Then, late one night, I got a message from an unknown number. It said, "Zoe, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you in person. I needed you to know that I'm okay now. Thank you for giving me one last perfect evening. Please move on and be happy. Jake." I stared at the message, tears streaming down my face. I never saw Jake again, but somehow, that message gave me closure. I've carried the memory of that disappearing date with me ever since. It's a reminder of how strange and fleeting life can be, and how sometimes, connections we make can defy explanation. Thanks for listening, everyone. Be careful out there, and cherish every moment, because you never know what might happen.